We share a passion for traveling to national parks, state parks, theme parks, and we want to share our experience with you.
We hope you will join us as we share our travel experiences with you from national parks to theme parks. So, let's go to the park. So, Saturday morning, I woke up and we drove to Florida. By we, I mean me and my husband, our cousin Gracie, and then our 2 exchange students, Pete and Jorge. We went to Universal. We got back to the hotel at 1:30 a.m. We woke up Sunday and drove home. We got home a little before midnight. And then I woke up this morning and I had to be at work at 8. And I came from work straight to here. So.
And I'm on full speed.
Yes.
Because I have not done any of the above.
Yes.
But that's
so.
okay.
We're going to do great today. Maybe.
Today's park is home to the largest cave system in the world.
The world.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. And it's located in Kentucky.
So cool.
We live in Tennessee, so that is just north of us, about 5 hours away. So it's not quite in our backyard, but it's pretty close.
To be the largest cave system in the world, and we're just several hours from it is so cool to me.
Yeah. Yep, so it's pretty cool. So today's quiz, I made it for Cherie, and I'm not sure how we're going to do on it.
I'm never sure how I'm going to do on it.
Some of them you're going to know. Some of them you're going to look at me with hatred in your eyeballs.
I usually do.
So.
You make a mean quiz.
I do make a mean quiz.
You do.
Okay. True or false? The first cave tours were given by a slave.
True.
True. His name was Stephen Bishop. And you learn all about his story when you're in the national park. They talk about him and his story often. See, I know you had that one.
That's a pretty cool fact to start with, though. That's first cave tour was given by a slave.
First cave tours were given by a slave. And Stephen Bishop, he was one of the men that drew the maps for the cave. So he wasn't just, this is a cave. There are multiple things named after him.
Wow.
Because he found them. Also, there was 2 other slaves that were men that ended up doing cave tours as well. And one of them, for the last 100 years, someone in his family has been on staff at the National Park Service at Mammoth Cave National Park.
Wow.
So you can go to the cave and meet the the offspring of,
Descendant,
that's the word. So you could go to Mammoth Cave still and meet a descendant of someone that was one of the first people to give tours at the national park.
You just do not find history like that anywhere else.
You don't. And I don't even like history. But
Me either.
I think that is really cool.
That is so cool. And I've learned so much just by visiting the national parks. It's wild.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
how interesting. Okay.
All right. True or false? There is a dead body in Mammoth Cave National Park.
True.
True. Because there's a cemetery. There's lots of dead bodies. There's a couple really well-known stories about deaths in the park. Some of that is from tuberculosis camps. Some of that is from a man that got stuck in the cave and unfortunately died, and they had to go do a rescue mission. So there are lots of deaths reported in Mammoth Cave.
Scary.
Yep. Scary. True or false, they run Christmas lights into the cave for December.
False.
False.
I was about to say, if they do, I better know about it.
No, they do not run Christmas lights in the cave.
Bummer.
They have regular lighting, though. Not too far away in Louisville, they have the Mega Cavern, and that one is a cave, and they string Christmas lights all the way through it, and you drive your car through it.
Yeah, that looks so cool.
So that's a bucket list item. So It's not at Mammoth Cave, but it is at the Louisville Mega Cave.
Which I think is just 2 to 3 hours from Mammoth Cave. I'm not sure which one, but still, very close.
Not far at all. Okay. You're like 3 for 3.
Woo!
You're doing it.
Yeah.
So-
50-50 questions. Let's get to the multiple choice here. See how I do.
All right, multiple choice. Which type of fossil did they find in the cave? Did they find an alligator tooth, a woolly mammoth tusk, a shark tooth, or a grizzly bear claw?
Ooh, this is a good one.
That's a good one, huh?
This is a good one. I'm going now. Let's just preface this with timelines. Not my strong point. So
Okay.
if I'm way wrong, I'm not shocked. But I'm gonna guess a mammoth tusk.
That is wrong.
Oh,
That is wrong. So you would think, I threw that in there specifically because it's called Mammoth Cave.
True.
So you would assume that they found something related to mammoths, but there has been no evidence that mammoths have ever been at Mammoth Cave.
Oh.
It's named because of the size. The
Right.
mammoth gigantic size.
okay. So
So,
we've got crocodile, shark, alligator, shark.
or a grizzly.
Okay. What is it?
It is a shark tooth.
Wow.
I know. I don't know Pangea and all of that stuff with the shifting continents and all the things, but they did. They found a petal shark tooth in the cave, and if you look up a picture of a petal shark, it looks more like a stingray,
Oh.
so less sharky.
Okay.
But they did. They found a fossil of a shark tooth in a cave.
Very
In
cool.
Kentucky, which, if you're not geographically sound, it does not touch an ocean
No.
at this time. It is landlocked. All right. The next question. Good luck. Which war?
See.
Which war did Mammoth Cave play an important role in? The Spanish-American War, the Vietnam War, the War of 1812, or World War II?
The War of 1812?
Yes!
See, literally. Yay!
The War of 1812. So you can still go in the cave on one of the tours and see where they brought in all kinds of equipment and things. And we did that one together.
Okay.
So in that, it talks about the War of 1812 and how they needed nitrate for gunpowder.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's why it was involved in the war.
So cool.
So cool.
Many parks have been involved.
Many
in the
parks.
wars,
Yep.
As we've researched and learned.
All right, the last multiple choice question. Mammoth Cave National Park is made up of 426 miles of cave. If you laid those out in one row and you were driving at 60 miles an hour,
Surely to goodness you copied this. Because if you came up with this.
oh no, I just Googled it.
Oh my
I said, how long would it take to drive 426 miles at 60 miles an hour?
Okay, keep going.
So, it's like a math question.
Okay,
It's
I
awful.
like math.
So, 426 miles
Okay, you laid it out.
laid end to end. You're driving 60 miles an hour. How many hours would it take for you to drive that? 3, 5, 7, or 9?
7.
7! You did it!
Yay! I was going to be really disappointed in myself because I am a math girly.
You are a math. I am
So.
not a math girly. I would have got that wrong.
You are a map girly.
I'm a map girl,
So.
but I use Google Maps to tell me how long it's gonna take me to get
That's a
somewhere.
great question.
Thank you.
I enjoyed that.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'll start doing more math
You're
questions
keeping
for you.
me sharp.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, so you passed.
I did.
You passed.
I am really shocked. That's probably the best I've ever done on one
It
of
was
your
good.
quizzes.
That was good. I'm proud
Thank
of
you. Thank you so much. I'm proud of myself. Okay, next up, we are going to cover the state national park numbers. So all of the interesting facts and numbers of Mammoth Cave National Park. And the first one we're starting with, she just mentioned, so that's perfect. More than 426 miles of caves have been mapped. 426 miles. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And this, I mean, I assume, people are going through in the dark. I mean, they're discovering these new parts of the cave. So possibly in the dark or not easily accessible.
Yeah.
426
Fat
miles.
man squeeze.
Yeah.
Going through the tiny bits and pieces.
That's a lot.
To see where it's at. And it's not all, when I first thought of this number, I thought, oh, it's all on one level. But really, it's layers and layers and layers and layers of cave system. So when you get down to those bottom layers, you get down to a river that runs through it. You don't see that when you're up on your tour, your 2-hour tour on top. You don't get to see that. But they have a really cool thing in the visitor center where it shows you what all of the trails look like underneath.
Kind of terrifying. Really,
Absolutely
if you think about layers
terrifying.
and like you're at the bottom or close to the bottom.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, that's scary, but hey, we've been in it several times.
Yep. This park covers 52,000 acres in south central Kentucky.
And I wanted to share what city that was in, but it's in several different cities.
It is in
because
several
it is so large. So many different spots in south central Kentucky. This park receives over 2 million visitors a year. That's quite a bit. But I always try to think back to Great Smoky Mountains. Compared to that, not so much.
Not so much. And it's
Mammoth
close.
Cave's so cool.
And it's so close
It
by.
is. And it's so cool.
Yep. But of those 2 million visitors, only 500,000 take a cave tour.
Which is wild to me. Because I'm very much a checklist person. And I feel like if I did not take a cave tour, I could not check off Mammoth Cave.
Yes.
Multiple cave tours to me, but at least one.
Yep.
So.
And of those cave tours, there's 19. That's a lot.
There are. And that goes from anywhere from like your accessible cave tours all the way to like your wild cave tours.
Yeah,
where
you're
you're crawling.
spelunking.
Yes. So.
Do
that
not
covers-
sign me up for that.
No.
Ever.
No. I wouldn't have crawled through the example hole that you crawled through at Wind Cave or Jewel Cave.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one.
They had it at both of them.
No. Mm-mm.
Yep.
That is not for me. The highest surface elevation in the park is 852 feet, which is wild.
That's not that high.
No, it's not high at all.
No. And then the lowest surface elevation is 411 feet.
And this is just kind of a random number, but they receive 50 inches of rain a year, which is the highest amount in the state.
Yep. Prehistoric American Indians were the first people to enter the cave, and that was about 5,000 years ago. So this cave has been known for years. And I wonder how much of the cave they found, or, how much they could access.
Yeah.
Because we have lanterns and lights now, and they have fire.
This park officially became a national park in 1941. So, I mean, it's coming up on the 100 years, coming up.
It is.
So, pretty cool.
Yeah, and then 40 years later, so 1981, it became a World Heritage Site.
And 9 years later, in 1990, it was recognized as an International Biosphere Reserve, which you've talked about a little bit before for...
Yeah, the Smokies.
Okay.
The Smokies.
Okay. And a Biosphere Reserve, because I'm not well versed in what that is a learning place for sustainable development. So, pretty cool.
Yep. There are 100 different types of trees and shrubs. Trees and shrubs.
Do not take that out.
I really want to, but I'll leave it in
You cannot. And there's over 130 different species of flora and fauna within the cave system. That's a lot. Within the cave system.
That's a lot. One of the other cool things about Mammoth Cave is that it is known for its blind critters. So all of the fish and crickets. Ugh, gross. So some things on the top have eyes, like the crickets and the bats, but then there's some things on bottom, towards the bottom, that they don't have eyes because it's pitch black. You don't need the eyes.
Okay, moving on. So lots of cool numbers for Mammoth Cave, I thought. Lots of cool facts. So now we're going to move on to what we think are the top spots at or around the park. And starting out with number 1 is the Visitor Center. We are big fans of visitor centers. They are a great place to start your trip into a national park. This one in particular has a gift shop where we bought a really cool national park book.
We did.
It has a help desk there in the center with different volunteers or rangers just willing and ready to help you answer questions or anything like that. Of course, there's restrooms. There's exhibits, a little exhibit area you can walk through and learn more about the cave. And then there are also ranger talks too. A lot of the ranger talks and a lot of the cave tours depart from the visitor center, right outside of the visitor center. There was something else. Oh, you can also buy your cave tour tickets here. Although I do recommend purchasing them ahead of time online because they definitely do sell out, and that will be a tip in a little while, but that is a place you can buy tickets if you haven't done so already.
Nice. Yeah. So, well, the number 1 spot to visit is going to be the cave.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
But the number 2 spot, we'll say, is the visitor center.
Yeah, these aren't necessarily in order.
My top spot, I'm a nerd. I love the little store that's in the visitor center. And there's 2 different ones. So there's the America's National Park bookstore. That's where we bought our book. And then they also have cave gifts.
True.
And so the cave gifts store, there's one in the visitor center, and then there's one right outside the visitor center that is in a little building. And that has fun stuff. Evie, she's 4. You know, you can go buy a thing of rocks and keep them. Evie loves
I love that
rocks.
as a kid.
Me too. So they have, of course, they have all of your national park stuff. They've got everything about bats. They've got everything rocks. So I really like the stores there.
I do too. I think they're nice. They have a lot of good variety and things to choose from. So another top spot that I have not personally been to, but I want to go to, is the Old Guides Cemetery. And I'm going to read you just a little bit about that. So it's a small but significant cemetery located within Mammoth Cave National Park. Buried here is Stephen Bishop from earlier. So this cemetery also contains the burials of 3 tuberculosis patients who died during the Mammoth Cave tuberculosis cave treatment experiment of 1842. So it is located off of the beautiful Heritage Trail, a half-mile long, accessible trail through the woods. So this is definitely a spot that I would want to go next time and check out. If you like cemeteries, a bunch of the big names are here, buried here. So,
and the last time we went to Mammoth Cave, I wanted to go here, but I was heavily pregnant and tired, so we went back to our camper instead. But like you mentioned, you know, the Mammoth Cave tuberculosis treatment, you know, that's another wild piece of history where this guy thought you could cure TB by going underground. It didn't work.
Well,
but there are still, in one of the cave tours, you can see where their housing and things were and where they lived at trying to cure their TB. So there's all kinds of stuff in this cave.
So cool.
Yep. And goodness. And then there's also a couple different places to eat. I consider that a top spot at the park.
Well, yeah.
So there's the lodge, the Green River Grill, and the Spelunkers Cafe and Ice Cream Parlor.
Nice.
They have both been closed, but they opened back up in January of next year. So January of 24.
Nice.
All of the construction work will be done on these and they'll open back up.
Good deal. And, I do consider that a top spot because so many of these national parks do not have any food services. And sometimes it makes it hard because if you aren't coming from home, you might not have groceries at your Airbnb or your hotel. So you've got to plan ahead. Yeah. And so I do think that's nice and convenient, and it just makes it a little bit easier.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so some of the things to do at this park, and there are plenty of things to do at this park. And I know when you hear Mammoth Cave, or at least for me, I just think about cave tours. But there's lots of other things to do. But obviously, number one are the cave tours. They range, like I said earlier, from accessible to very strenuous. And the very strenuous would be those wild caving, splunking tours where you are crawling and maneuvering through a cave for many, many hours. Something that you have to be well prepared for. But they do have that range. So I feel like there's something for everyone. They have some that are more suited for kids, that are handicap accessible, some that are self-guided, just many different types. And they range in how many hours they last too. So there's some that might be 2 hours and there's some that might be 6 hours. So, and the National Park website for Mammoth Cave does a great job giving detailed descriptions of these cave tours that I always read.
It does.
And then people leave reviews as well. And obviously you have to take it with a grain of salt, but I read those as well to see what people are saying about it.
Absolutely.
So that's helpful. All tours require tickets. So like I said earlier, they can be purchased online, which is what I recommend, or bought in the visitor center, which is okay, but just be prepared that it might be sold out.
Yeah. They also have a whole slew of ranger-led programs. So there's a hiking one, there's a driving tour, there's coffee with a ranger. Like, you go sit in the lodge next to the fireplace and have coffee with a ranger. I love that idea. Yeah. And they have an exhibit talk, and then they have an evening talk as well.
So lots of ranger-led programs.
Lots of ranger-led programs.
Which I love about a park, because some of the parks, and for whatever reason, maybe they just don't have the staff or whatever, but some of these parks do a great job just putting together so many free, I guess some cost, but typically free ranger-led programs where you can just get that one-on-one time or a small group time with a ranger who's worked here for many years and knows all the ins and outs.
Yep.
We love that too. So something else that you can do at this park is canoeing and kayaking. So the rivers inside of the park are part of the Green and Nolan Rivers Blueway, a national water trail encompassing 36 miles of waterway and 7 public access sites. I didn't know this about Mammoth Cave. So.
I knew there was a river, but I didn't know you could do anything with it.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Something different.
Because it's a river, you can also go fishing. No license required or permit needed.
Which is nice. You can also go bicycling. So they have lots of different bicycle trails that you can go on within the park.
Yep. And you can rent a bicycle from the lodge if you don't want to bring your own bicycle.
Nice.
Of course, there are hiking trails here.
Not a
ton.
A huge amount.
Not a ton.
Your hiking's going to be through the caves on the cave tours, really.
They do have above ground hiking
They do.
Or above ground hiking, but it's the elevation is 400 feet to 800 feet across the whole park. So there's not a lot of
But listen,
change.
that walk out from the cave up to the visitor center, that must be all 400 feet.
It must be.
Because that'll take you out if you're not careful. Okay, something else that you can do, unexpected to me, at Mammoth Cave is horseback riding. And there are over 60 miles of trails. That's quite a bit.
That's a lot of trails.
Which I feel like Kentucky's a big horse place.
Well, that's where the Kentucky Derby is.
True. Big South Fork.
Yeah, so there's a lot of horse stuff in Kentucky. You're right. And then, of course, there's stargazing, as is most national park sites. This is another really good place to see the stars and go to their night sky program.
Which you should definitely do. You do not realize how many stars you're missing out on just looking from your home. Even if you think you're out in the country, still not far enough away. So this was a cool thing I learned about Mammoth Cave is they hold a lot of different special events. So they have a bat night, a Black History Month where they do events for that, a cave singing event,
Singing, as in like you go in the cave and they have people that play and sing in the big like auditorium like things in the cave.
The Dark Sky Week, of course, National Park Week, and Wildflower Day. So that's a lot of special events.
Wildflower Day?
Yeah. So
I didn't know
really
about
cool.
that one. That is sweet.
Okay.
So, Sheree and I have both been to this park multiple times. Once together.
Yes.
So I say multiple times. I've been, I think, 3 times total.
I've been twice.
And she's been twice. So, all together, that's 5 trips.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah.
So, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I've been with my mom and my cousin.
And I've been with my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And then we went together.
Yeah.
And then I have personally done the Great Onyx Lantern Tour, Domes and Dripstones, Frozen Niagara, the Self-Guided Tour, Mammoth Passage, and then Blake has done all of those plus River Styx Tour. And when we go, both times that we've been, we always camp at Singing Hills RV Park, which I highly recommend.
Yeah, so there's no RV camping in the park. There's a lodge, but there's no RV sites in there. So the Singing Hills RV Park, I stayed at the last time when we went, and it was precious.
It was.
It was sweet.
Yeah.
I do not remember which cave tours I have been on. I can't even tell you which one we went on together.
I do believe, because I struggled with that one, honestly, but I do believe it was Mammoth Passage.
Mammoth Passage?
I believe.
Cool. We'll go with it.
Yeah,
we'll go with
so.
it.
So, our favorite park story. So, I've kind of switched mine up, and mine's my favorite cave tour, which was Domes and Dripstones. It had a lot of stairs. I want to say between 500 and 700.
Oof.
But it was a really great tour. I feel like it covered a lot. You got to see a lot of different formations. And we also did the Frozen Niagara as part of Domes and Dripstones. It can be done separately as a shorter tour. But if you did, like, maybe it's like 100 more stairs, you could go down and see Frozen Niagara, which was really pretty. So that's my favorite tour. For sure. Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I don't remember what tours I have been on.
That's okay.
And I often confuse which caves I've seen what on. Because we together have been to 3 different caves. So Mammoth Cave, Wind Cave, and Jewel Cave. And then outside of that, here in Tennessee, there's a couple different caves you can go to. Like Tuckaleechee Caverns.
Cherokee.
Tuckaleechee Taverns.
No, you're right. Tuckaleechee Caverns.
Tuckaleechee Caverns.
You're right.
Okay.
Cherokee Caverns.
Fall Creek Falls has a cave that you can go into.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a lot of cave lovers listening, I am so sorry. A cave is a cave to me. It's cool to see, but I don't necessarily have specific memories of what I have seen where, and I'm real sorry. Except Timpanogos Cave in Utah. I remember seeing the heart of Timpanogos.
I think Blake and I counted it up, and we've been in 20 different caves.
Oh, wow. Oh, we went to X Cave in Kentucky.
We did, and Carter Cave.
And Carter Cave.
Which will be...
We'll talk about that.
On the blog, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, but at some point we will talk about it. Loved those.
So we've both been to a lot of caves.
We have, yeah.
Because we like to see them. But I personally can't remember which is which.
The Lost Sea, too. That's a big one.
The Lost Sea?
That's a huge one, really.
Yeah.
Here. Okay. So, what we want to do when we go back. When I go back, I want to do the Sand Almanac program, which is a progressive walking and driving tour telling the saga of Floyd Collins. And Floyd Collins was trapped in a sand cave in 1925. So this tour takes you to the family home place, and it takes you to the church and the gravesite of Floyd Collins. And so this is actually can be a ranger-led program. And I think it's like a 5-mile round trip. You take your own car kind of thing. But it looks really cool. And I hadn't heard of it. That would be neat to do. So that's on my to-do list.
So Floyd Collins is the guy that I mentioned earlier that got stuck in the cave. That is... We do not have time to cover that. But if you're interested in learning more about that story, National Park After Dark did a whole episode on it. And I guess technically we can share this story. Is my favorite story. When we went to Mammoth Cave, me and Tyler and Evie, my very pregnant belly, we walked out to the site where he was stuck. Mm-hmm. So you can go out, it's on a boardwalk, and then you can look down and see the entrance to the cave. And while we were there, Tyler and I were talking about the National Park After Dark episode of Mammoth Cave, and people next to us were like, "Oh, we follow them. We know them." So that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, I would like to walk out to that too. We were a little bit, it was the same trip that we were on, but we were a little behind them, and so I wasn't quite prepared for that. Didn't know where exactly it was at, and so I would like to do that as well. I think that'd be cool.
This trip, we say that it was together, and technically it was.
Yeah.
But Evie's abilities, she was 3. It's a little different than, and the pace is a little different, and keeping her entertained is a little different at the cave. There are some child-friendly things you can do, but it's not the most fun that a 3-year-old could have.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Anyway, when I go back, I would like to stay at the lodge.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I would love to do the Coffee with a Ranger, which is at the lodge, and then do the evening program that's in between, like the lodge and the visitor center the lodge and the campground at the amphitheater. No, there's not a campground. There is a campground.
There is a campground.
Okay. So I want to go.
I would help you, but I can't.
You're good. So next time I go to Mammoth Cave, I want to go to the lodge and stay there, do the Coffee with a Ranger, which is at the lodge, and then do the evening program at the amphitheater that's between the lodge and the campground. Nice. The campground only has tent sites. So we talked earlier that there's no RV sites, but there are tent sites at a campground.
Okay. What we learned after visiting. Take us away.
I learned, again, back at the lodge, you can bring your dang dogs with you. There's not a lot of places in national parks that dogs are welcome to come to.
True.
So at Mammoth Cave, clearly they are not allowed in the cave, but they are allowed on some of the hiking trails. Mm-hmm. And then when you bring your dog with you, the lodge has different cottages that your animal is welcome to stay with you. And then while you're on your cave tour, you can put them in the kennel at the lodge. So not only can you bring your dog, they will help watch your dog so you can enjoy the parts of the park that you can't go to with your dog.
Which is really, really nice.
Very rare.
Yes,
Do not
it is.
know of another national park that does this.
Okay, so we have a few park tips for you. During your cave tours, you might want to bring a light jacket with you because the temperature usually stays around 54 degrees. And you can always tie it around your waist if you get warm.
Yep. And then you're supposed to wear closed-toed shoes with a good tread because it can be slippery. And when you exit the cave, you have to walk over the mat that decontaminates your shoes. So the white nose syndrome in the bats, we want to save our bats. So they will have you clean your shoes and ask that you they will ask that you don't wear the clothes that you are wearing at this cave at another cave, because it can still live on your clothes even after they have been washed and dried.
Okay, perfect. Next tip, which I've said twice now, but I'm going to say it again.
Because we really mean it.
Yeah, we do. Make reservations ahead of time. Do not show up to this park thinking, oh, well, I want to do this tour and this tour, and get there and they say it's sold out. Like, that's the biggest bummer, I feel like. And you don't have to do that because you can make reservations ahead of time, have that ticket on your phone, and be good to go. You can also go in the visitor center up to the desk and they will print you a physical, like a ticket, after seeing that reservation on your phone.
Yes. So, phone service. Obviously, when you're down in the cave, you're not going to have cell phone service. However, you're also not going to have great cell phone service on the surface either. So, don't depend on your cell phone service to be able to pull up your email, to pull up the ticket. So, try to have that screenshotted to your phone before you get there so that you can show them your ticket.
And here are some things that you cannot take with you on a cave tour. You do not want to walk down the big hill or go anywhere and have these things and have to run back to your car because they might not wait on you. So you cannot have, and this is a big one, because a lot of people have kids, no child backpack carrier. So you can do the front carrier, but you cannot do the backpack carrier.
Yep. And again, that is for safety of the bats, and also, you know, a cave is a living, breathing system, so they don't want you rubbing up against the rocks or messing with the water that's flowing or any of that stuff. So that the child backpack carriers are not allowed, as well as large backpacks.
For the same
so reason. You're not going to take your snacks with you into the cave.
Right. Obviously, like she said before, no pets, no strollers. There are stairs and probably almost all of them. And then no flash photography as well.
Yeah. Then one thing to take note of, Mammoth Cave is in the central time zone. So that's a big one for us because we leave the eastern time zone to get into Mammoth Cave. So all of the tours and things are in the central time zone.
And this is a park close enough for us that we probably wouldn't, but we could go up for the day and make it to a tour. So that's just something to keep in mind. You don't want to miss your time because of time zone issues.
Yep.
So the blog for Mammoth Cave will be posted next Monday, a week from today.
Yeah. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook so you can keep up with our travels, and share your own by joining our private Facebook group.
Yeah. And we hope that you will join us next time on our next live, which will be
at some time in the future, in December.
What is 2 weeks from now? Oh, the 18th.
The 18th.
So we still have another one. Yeah. Before Christmas. Yay. So join us on the 18th.
Yeah.
And make sure you go and see what hints that we post and see if you can guess which park we are going to do next. And we look forward to seeing you then.
All right. Until next time. We'll see you at the park.
Bye.
Join us in our private Facebook group so you can share your own trip stories, and visit our blog for even more information about the park we visited today. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another live video turned podcast. Links for all these are located in the description below.
Until next time, we'll see you at the park.